Now, in the ongoing Hezbollah-Israel war, the Iran-backed armed group has claimed that it fired missiles at Israeli soldiers near the key border town of Bint Jbeil in southern Lebanon. And in a statement, the militant group said that it targeted the IDF forces on the southern outskirts of the town with a salvo of Nasser-1 type missiles. Now, Bint Jbeil was the scene of the fierce fighting during the 2006 war between the Hezbollah and Israel. Now, the attack on the IDF soldiers came shortly after the Hezbollah said that it fired ballistic missiles at the Israeli army's headquarters in Tel Aviv. Hezbollah has claimed that it used the Qadr-2 missiles in its strikes on the commercial hub of Tel Aviv, which houses both the defense ministry and the headquarters of the Israeli military. The Lebanon's group later said that it fired a salvo of missiles at another site in Tel Aviv, in fact near Tel Aviv, which it said was owned by an Israeli arms manufacturer. The Israeli military said that a heavy barrage of rockets was fired from Lebanon at Israel. Around 5 projectiles were identified following sirens that sounded in a number of areas in central Israel. A video showed interceptions in the sky about 45 kilometers south of Haifa and people sheltering behind vehicles on a highway as north of Tel Aviv. Now, the IDF announced that 6 Israeli soldiers were killed in a clash with the Hezbollah forces as Israel's troops pushed deeper into southern Lebanon. The clash took place as troops moved into the second line of villages across from the border. It is one of the heaviest single-day losses in the operation that began in late September against the Hezbollah. So far, a total of 793 IDF soldiers have been killed in the conflicts in both Gaza and Lebanon since October 7th attacks. According to reports, Israel's Channel 12 has decided to not air its comedy show Eretz Nehedret following the death of 6 Golani Brigade soldiers in Lebanon. Meanwhile, an Israeli strike hit the southern suburbs of Beirut on Wednesday night after a series of 3 attacks on the Hezbollah stronghold in less than 24 hours. The footage showed smoke rising in the area after an evacuation call by the Israeli army. Israel's defense minister said he will not agree to any Lebanon ceasefire that does not ensure a disarmed Hezbollah withdraws north of Lebanon's Litani River or allows the residents of northern Israel to return to their homes.
We will not make any ceasefires, and we will not stop and will not take our foot off the pedal. And we will not allow any arrangement. That does not include achieving the goals of the war, which is disarming Hezbollah, withdrawing it from beyond the Litani River, and mainly creating the true conditions for the residents of the north to return to their homes safely.
Furthermore, the UN Security Council condemned attacks in the recent weeks on the UN peacekeeping mission in Lebanon, calling on all parties to respect the safety of members of that force. The UNSC statement noted in particular attacks on October 29th, November 7th and November 8th. On the other front, the Syrian state media said that Israel carried out an air raid near the border with Lebanon, which is a known stronghold of the Hezbollah. According to a Syrian news agency, the Israeli aggression on the Homs region was met with a barrage of anti-aircraft fire. Meanwhile, the US President Joe Biden raised the issue of American hostages in Gaza during his Oval Office meeting with President-elect Donald Trump. Now, the U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said that the current administration also sent a signal to the Trump transition team that it is prepared to collaborate in order to secure a hostage deal.
Destabilizes the West Bank. It undermines the search for security and prosperity for the Palestinian people, which is in Israel's interests. And I think it's wrong to withhold funds that provide.
Let's now go across to our correspondent Jody Cohen, who's joining us live from Renana. Jody, 6 IDF soldiers were killed in Lebanon, one of the worst days of casualties for Israel in Lebanon. How are Israeli people reacting to the deaths?
Hi, Isha. Yes, so the IDF said that the 6 soldiers were killed during a gun battle with members of the Iran-backed Hezbollah terror group. And this was the second deadliest day for the IDF since its ground offensive began against Hezbollah in September. Now, Israelis are obviously devastated. The soldiers came from all around the country. The youngest was 19 years old and the oldest was only 22. They're all from the Golani Brigade, and Prime Minister Netanyahu posted the Golani logo with a broken heart on his X feed. Now, we've heard reports in recent days that a ceasefire could be close. US envoy Amos Hochstein said that he was hopeful after meeting with Israeli Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer, who reportedly wrote Israel's proposal for a ceasefire, which would ensure a ceasefire as well as Israel achieving its war objective of making sure that residents in northern Israel could return to their homes. And Hochstein said that he was waiting to hear back now from Lebanon about this. Now, in the meantime, as well as its ground offensive, Israel has been striking Hezbollah targets south of Beirut after issuing evacuation warnings to civilians. And Israel has indicated that with or without a deal, Israel would push Hezbollah back away from the border.
Jody, the world is waiting to see how the Trump administration will tackle the West Asia issue. And President Biden and President-elect Trump discussed West Asia in their meeting. What do we know about what was said? And what has been the reaction to President-elect Trump's nomination so far?
So we know that National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said that President Biden told Trump that Iran and its proxy terror groups are the most immediate national security threat to Americans and American interests in West Asia. And Biden said that Iran needs to be dealt with on an urgent basis. Now, President Trump's nominations have been welcomed by Israel. They appear to be aligned on Iran and also are strong long-term supporters of Israel. For example, Marco Rubio has been nominated as Secretary of State. He says that Hamas is responsible for this war and for civilian deaths because Hamas uses Palestinian civilians as human shields while targeting Israeli civilians. Mike Huckabee has been nominated as ambassador to Israel, is known for his support of Israeli sovereignty over the West Bank, which he calls by the historic names Judea and Samaria. The Prime Minister Netanyahu has also been developing a relationship with Elon Musk over the past couple of years, and we saw Musk fly to Washington to hear Netanyahu address Congress recently. So Israel would be very happy with Trump's nominations so far, and also confident that Israel would be able to continue to work closely, and many feel even closer with the new US administration, particularly on the threat from Iran and its proxies.
Thank you, Jody, for joining us with those updates.